Hello, what is up my guys, gals and non-binary pals? Welcome to my channel. My name is Leah. I hope you're having a lovely day, and if not, I hope that this video is a nice little break from the real world. Heaven knows we could all do with one. So I worked out how to edit my last video, kind of, maybe. It wasn't great. It's been 7 years. Because I managed to do that, it means I'm back doing another one. Hope you're into it. As I mentioned in my previous video, it's been 7 years since I last properly did a video and uploaded to YouTube. And so I figured that for this one, I'd just give you an update of where I've been for 7 years. While I do a little bit of makeup. Have moved closer so you can see my face better. Isn't it beautiful? So to start with, I always do my eyes first, so I'm going to take the PLouise Also Browtiful brow gel in Mochaccino. So the last couple videos I uploaded, I was like, oh, procrastination is ruining me, and oh, everything's changing, and I'm like so sad, but like I'm happy for people, but I'm also sad. And like looking back on them, I'm like, oh yeah, no, Aaliyah, you were just depressed. Like I was literally essentially just doing these videos being like, hey, I'm listing off symptoms of depression, but I don't think I have depression. Boo, you got a big storm coming. You hella depressed. How did I? It's fine. Thank heavens for cleanup. Also, this is why I do my brows first, because I'm so messy and bad at them that like I need to do a bit of cleaning up after. So I'm going to be using the PLouise Rumour 03 base and the Made by Mitchell MF5 brush to clean up. So around like January of 2015 probably, I realised I was just depressed, and at the time I was at university in Hull, and I reached out to the doctors there for help, who referred me on to some mental health nurses. That didn't go well. At first the nurses were wonderful and very understanding. They were doing like the assessment of like, oh, do we think you actually do have an issue? And they were really great and really understanding, and you know, I was talking about some very dark things I was going through, and they were great. And then it came to the point of like, oh, and what was like your teenage years? And I was like, oh, well, I went to this private school. Immediately they flipped. They said I was a silly little private school girl who didn't understand emotion, and literally ended my appointment right there and then, and said to the doctors that there was nothing wrong with me, I didn't have anything wrong, no depression, nothing like that. They were very wrong. So I feel like now is a good time to give just a general trigger warning. I'm not going to discuss anything like in detail, but I have severe mental health issues, and we're going to be talking about how things with them. So please, if this is like too much or too triggering, stop, look after yourself, do self-care, talk to someone if you can. If you need to, talk to a medical professional. Please look after yourself is essentially the long and the short. But yeah, despite me having very serious issues and thoughts and stuff, as soon as these nurses found out that I went to a private school, which I didn't get a fucking say in, but cool, I guess, they didn't care. They said to the doctors there was nothing wrong with me, despite me definitely presenting with various problems. And that's when I like stopped making videos and stuff, because it all got very bad and very hard, and I was honestly just struggling to make it through each day, really. But you know, very luckily I had some incredibly good, strong, supportive friends around me, and made it through the first year of uni. For eyes today, I'm going to be using the Nomad palette by Juvias, and I'm going to start with a Zoeva 227 brush, and I'm going to take the shade, I don't know the name, but it's this dark one. I'm just going to put it in the crease. So between the summer of my first and second year at uni, essentially, you know, I'd been ignoring all these mental health problems for best part of like 6+ months, because guess what? These doctors essentially told me to fuck off. And I finally worked up the courage to come and see the doctors in my hometown. And genuinely, I was incredibly lucky with the doctor who I got to see, and I fully credit them for saving my life. So the doctor who I got to see immediately was like, what the fuck, you should not have been just disregarded up there. The doctor who I got to see was immediately like, what the fuck, they didn't offer you any help or support, you are seriously, clearly struggling. I can immediately diagnose you with like depression and stuff. And they actually made an emergency referral to my local mental health team, because they were like, Jesus fucking Christ, I don't think you can wait, especially, you know, having already been told to piss off, essentially. And that mental health team, they were lovely and supportive. They diagnosed me with depression and anxiety. They put me on sertraline, which is an antidepressant, but because I was still at university, I couldn't really be put forward for any longer courses, I couldn't be put forward for any further diagnoses, because I was sort of going back and forth all the time. I am now going to use the PLouise 120 brush and this shade down here to just buff that out a little bit. And so the mental health team told my GP in Hull, like, you have to keep giving her this medicine, you can't just refuse to do anything. Please monitor her, let us know if anything happens, blah blah, do your fucking jobs, essentially. The GPs in Hull were not happy about that. I literally remember the first time I went to go and get the meds, because at the time, because I was so new on the meds, I was meant to see them every month to get them. After I'd been on the meds for like a couple months, they weren't meant to keep doing that, but they still insisted I came in to get them all the time, and that I had to have an appointment, not just like go in and get them. And I remember the first time I went in to see them, they were like, I'm going to prescribe it because it's written in your medical records, but just so you know, we believe our nurses, essentially not you. So safe to say I wasn't really getting any support from Hull about any of this. As previously mentioned, this is very heavy mental health stuff. Please look after yourself, please take a break if you need to, skip this video entirely, you are more than welcome to. Eat some food, drink water, take your meds. Please talk to someone if you feel you need to, especially if you feel like you need to speak to a trained medical professional, please do. I know that so far in the story, the ones I've spoken to have mostly been twats, but trust me, it turns out for the better in the long run. Also, listen, my DMs are always open if you do just need a chat or anything. Look after yourself, you are important, at least to me. But yeah, around the end of my second year at uni, I went back to these doctors in Hull and I was like, listen, I genuinely think I'm going to hurt myself just to see if I can feel anything at this point. These meds aren't working, please help. And they went, well, we don't think there's anything wrong with you, so you can either take the ones that your other doctors said you should take, or you can not. And so essentially, they sort of forced me to just stop taking my meds. No wind down period, no reduction in dosages, this, that, or the other. They literally were like, we just won't prescribe you anymore. Not going to do anything about it. Wow, I should have probably, like, you know, raised formal complaints and sued them, but I was also essentially going through a very long mental breakdown, so. Buff out these edges again a wee bit more. We're going to take the Morphe X Jeffree Star JS12 brush. Obviously no longer a thing anymore, but you know, it's just like a little tiny buffy brush. I'm going to take this colour up here. I'm going for like a warmy earth tone type thing, I've decided. Because why not? I'm a Taurus. I'm Earth, apparently. But yeah, essentially, I was sort of forced into just stopping my meds outright, which please do not ever do that. It is incredibly dangerous. When I since came back to like doctors here, they were horrified to hear of that. Please, please, if you are worried the meds aren't right, speak to a doctor. If your doctors are being cunts like mine were, go to another doctor's surgery, move GP, heck, call 111. I'm going to go back in with my other brushes. Anything but just stopping them. That is incredibly dangerous. And I am shocked it didn't end worse for me in many ways. I am now going to go back in with my other brushes and just build up some of the colour in areas because the yellow has overpowered a lot of the blend we had. So I essentially spent my 3rd year of uni unmedicated, untreated, and just struggling, trying to get through and look after myself as best as I could with no real support. Again, as mentioned previously, I was incredibly lucky to have some amazing friends who really got me through it. If it weren't for them, I don't think I would be here right now. They're wonderful. Emma, Mike, Eddie, Sophie, Erin, I love you. See, just reapplying that a little bit in there. And it's blended that out beautifully again. Oh my god, the power of brushes and pigment. Shockingly enough, I did actually manage to graduate university, despite all of that. Which I still don't know to this day how I managed. Again, it was mainly because of those wonderful friends I had, but like, my grade was not the best. I got a 2-2, which when I remember after my 1st year where I'd essentially worked myself to the bone, tried to disregard my mental health issues, all that kind of stuff. They were like, oh yeah, we really think you could get a 1st, possibly even a 1st with exemplary honours, which is like a 1.0 or something. I'd never even fucking heard of it before, but apparently it was a thing that at least this uni did. And then I ended up graduating with a 2-2. Annoyingly, all of like my actual assignments for the courses, I got like, I think the lowest assignment I ever got was like 71%. However, I then would have panic attacks in pretty much every exam. But I did manage to graduate, which is nice. I got a 2-2, and you know, my dad just seemed so happy that one of his daughters had finally done a science and graduated. My mum was like, oh, it's okay, everyone will know that it's maths and we'll still hire you. And my grandma... So I mentioned earlier that I went to a private school. My grandma had sort of made a deal with my mum when I was probably like 5 at the fucking time, that my mum wouldn't get any inheritance or anything like that, but my grandma would pay for our educations, because essentially my grandma married rich. My parents could not have ever, like, if they'd have had to pay for it themselves, not a chance that any one of us could go to like any of these schools, let alone me and my 2 sisters. But my English grandma could afford that and therefore offered it. I, again, as mentioned before, got no say in this, despite the fact that the schools I went to before I was perfectly happy at. They were like, nope, you're going to these schools. And essentially since then, she sort of held it over me almost like, hey, I paid for your education. And I'm like, I didn't ask you to. While she was happy that I did graduate and get a degree, she was not happy with the grade of it. I did try to explain to her about, you know, mental health things, when I first got like that referral back in summer of 2015, and she just told me to stop taking my meds. My grandma is not exactly understanding or progressive when it comes to that stuff. I say progressive, I mean fucking normal, but you know. Okay, I am pretty happy with that blend. I am now going to, off camera, cut the crease with the PLouise Rumour 02 base. A little bit lighter, just so I can make pop of colour in the eye. So the crease has been cut. I'm going to take a bit more of this darkest green and sort of blend this so it sort of blends in as a bit more angled. And then I'm going to take the Pastel Roses loose eyeshadow pigment in Autumn Love, which is like a duochrome pink to greeny gold flake, which I think will look really nice with this. So I managed to graduate, but my mental health was still pretty poor, shall we say. So when I got back here to Birmingham, I went back to the doctors that had like first referred me to the mental health team, and they were like, oh okay, well you've been diagnosed, so we're not going to like refer you again, but we'll review the medication. I believe I was then put on citalopram, and I would still have the monthly appointment, but it was actually like they were asking how I was, if I had any side effects. Which, like, it was good that they were, you know, asking about the side effects, asking about how I was, but I regularly was like, I'm still really fucking depressed. And they were like, well, you know, sorry. They never really considered like referring me on for any further therapy. They were just like, yeah, you seem to be doing okay, we think. But I wasn't. So I'm going to apply the Pastel Roses flakes using the PLouise X Mitchell Acid Rain flat brush. It doesn't have a number, I'm very sorry. Ooh, baby, look at that shine. Oh yeah, looks very pink facing head on in this light. But I promise when you turn it, you see it goes to like the goldy green. It'll just be a green and pink look, it'll be fine. Showing up very well in camera or with this lighting, but in real life there is like this gorgeous like gold green reflect to it. You can sort of see it when I turn my head that way. You can sort of see like it's going a bit more goldy green, but it's not very clear. Yeah. For now, I am now going to move on to my base, and I'm going to be using the Nimya Where It All Starts cream. Following my last review video thing that I did, I have been using this a fair bit, and I do quite like it. I do really like it. I'm very happy that I got it. I do stand by the whole, you know, the size for the price and the amount that's actually just plastic and stuff, but it is a good cream. Also, as mentioned in my review, it smells really good. If you would like to watch it, the link will be up there, if I can work out how to do the thing. Oh wow, it's like you do YouTube things, Aaliyah. It's like you know what YouTube things are. Also, yes, we do have Sir Pimple joining us for today. Say hello, make him feel welcome. Everyone feels welcome. Oh wow, this lighting makes my teeth look so yellow, when in real life, I swear they don't look this fucking yellow. Like, they don't, but then on camera, oh my days. Leah, did you brush your teeth this morning? Yes, I did. So for foundation, I'm going to take the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Glow in the shade 10.5. Listen, shade matches are always going to be spotty, especially, you know, when you have to buy it online, you can't try it, and then when, at least I find myself as a mixed race person, I tan really fucking easily. Like, to the extent that I can be in autumn and can suddenly realise I've got a tan if I take off a watch that I've been wearing for a while. And like a new tan. So sometimes you'll buy foundation and you're like, well, this matches me at this moment in time. Who knows if it'll still match later? So, listen, if there's a bit of disparity between the neck and the chest, just shh, no one say anything. I'm taking the, again, Morphe X Jeffree Star, no longer in makeup production, JS1 brush to just apply this. It sort of matches. This is fine. I can make this work. See, that's the thing when you're just taking a photo for Instagram. You don't really need to worry if the foundation isn't a perfect match, because you can sort of bring it down the neck and bring it over the shoulders and make it look like it's a perfect match. Whereas on a video, while I'm applying it, you can clearly see if it doesn't match. I'm gonna need to get some new tricks. But yeah, come around, I want to say March 2018, the doctor who I had been seeing back here in Birmingham, who had been doing like my medication reviews and stuff, actually left the practice. And because it was like a mental health issue and stuff, they were like, oh, we'll get you to see your GP. My GP, how do I word this? My GP has always written off pretty much every medical concern I've ever had as I'm overweight. And while yes, I am overweight, if I come along with, at one point I think I had like an eye infection, and he was like, oh, you just need to lose weight. And I was like, I think I need some fucking antibiotics to get me through this, then I can, you know, work on the losing. Also, whenever he'd be like, oh, you just need to lose weight, he'd never offer any support, never any like referrals, nothing like that, just do this. And I'm like, can you help me with how? Because clearly I'm struggling with it. No. But I remember when this GP back in 2015, when I'd been referred to the mental health team, my parents, he'd been our GP for 18 years at that point. My parents had a lot of trust and faith in him, and so wanted me to go and see him as well as the person who'd done the referral. They said they wanted to be there. I said I didn't want them in the room because I didn't want them hearing lots of the things I had to say. Meeting with the GP first, then he brought them in and sort of gave them an overview, explained to them, told them what he thought. When I had the appointment with him alone, he literally said, I don't think there's anything wrong with you. I think if you lost weight it would get better, and if I could I would recall the referral that my colleague has made, but unfortunately as they sent it as an emergency one, I can't. Thank fuck they sent it as an emergency one. Then when he called my parents into the room, he was like, oh yeah, no, she's definitely suffering with some depression. I think it's really good that my colleague made the referral. And I was like, you two-faced cunt. You just said you think there's nothing wrong with me, that I just don't need any of this, but then suddenly my parents are here and you're like, yeah, it's really, it's good that she's getting, fuck off. So when the doctor I had been seeing left, and they were like, oh, well, the only person we can really tell you to see is your GP, I was very concerned. I didn't want to see him. He essentially had, you know, written off all of my mental health issues for so many years, saying there was nothing wrong with me. He had then also like belittled and negated my mental health issues, even when one of his colleagues said I had them and stuff, and guess what? Fucking did. I didn't mean to get any down there. I did the squeeze badly. Oh no. But yeah, when the doctor that I had been seeing left and the surgery was essentially like, well, you have to see your GP or you can't see anyone, I was like, well, I guess I can't see anyone then. This guy's just mocked me, belittled me, and gaslit me many a time. So, oh, what a beautiful shot, Leah. Fabulous. Oh, stunning. But yeah, it meant that essentially, come like March 2018, I sort of again found myself without really any support for my mental health, because I did try and see the guy once, and again he was like, just lose weight, and I was like, that isn't how, that, trust me, I can't fucking do that if I can't keep myself going, you get. But just a heads up, I know that this has all been quite a lot of heavy stuff, but we're going to get into a lot heavier stuff now, so again, please feel free to stop watching. For concealer today, I'm going to be taking the Nabla Close-Up Concealer in the shade Amber. So essentially from like March of 2018, I was pretty much back not on any meds and not really with any medical support. I would like to point out that as I get further into this story, you will hear about lots of medical support, which is good. It was just sort of like 3 main points that failed, like the first mental health nurses in Hull, doctors in Hull, and then like this one GP here in Birmingham. Tried doing what I could, and I tried taking care of myself to the best of my ability, but I was unmedicated, unsupported, severe mental health issues, so it understandably didn't go very well. I am now going to take the Jeffree Star Cosmetics Honey Luminous Setting Powder, Magic Star Setting Powder, I believe is the full name. But essentially in June of 2018, I ended up having to take myself to the hospital to avoid doing anything bad or worse per se to myself. Still to this day, it is absolutely one of the hardest things I've ever had to fucking do in my entire life. But I am also so grateful that I did. Yeah. I wish that like the story of why I'd been gone for 7 years was like a cheery one, and I was like, well, I was too busy having fun, making friends. No, I was severely depressed and had various mental breakdowns. Woo! So, at the time when I took myself to the hospital, weirdly enough, somehow all of my family had ended up being back in the same house at the same time. So mum, dad and 2 older sisters. When I was walking myself there, it was probably like 5 p.m. On, I believe it was a Wednesday. And my sister, who was coming back on a bus from work, actually went past me and was like, where are you going? And I just didn't reply, because we'd had like falling out a couple of days before, which had been one of the factors that had led into me taking myself there. But I think it was primarily the fact that I'd been unmedicated and untreated for such a long time. I've just realised my lights aren't on. How dare they? I'm very sorry for this blip in continuity, but I need my pretty lights on. I'm so annoyed at myself for not noticing that before. Grrr. Like, I knew something was different in the background and I couldn't place it for some reason. But the sister who had been on the bus, like, texted the family being like, yo, do you know where the Freckle is going? And my other sister, who could drive, actually saw me like walking into the hospital, so came to see what was going on. Safe to say, they were a bit shell-shocked when they found out why I was there, because I'd actually got into the hospital so late in the traditional working day. And it's a very small hospital in the one that I went to. The like one psychiatrist who was in for that day was actually finishing. And they were like, listen, you're going to be like taken into like the AMU, which was like essentially the emergency inpatient area, so that someone could watch me. Now, like, when I get back in the morning, I'll take you to the ward, it's okay, we're going to look after you. They were absolutely bloody lovely. But based upon a risk assessment that they did when I actually went in, they actually decided to contact the mental health team that I had previously been referred to, and it was like its own little unit. I can't think of words. So I didn't really end up sleeping that night. There was one person who was primarily put in charge of watching over me, because there was like this long bank of beds, but they were all actually full of people who had physical illnesses and needed like to be in them. So they put me in like these sets of like chairs that had like drip sets. And I had a lovely person who just, you know, every now and again was like, do you want a cup of tea? Can I get you a sandwich? Here's some biscuits, you don't have to eat them, but they're here if you want them. And then the mental health team that had been called in arrived probably, I want to say, at about 4 in the morning. I hadn't gotten a wink of sleep because my brain was not exactly being the kindest to me and letting me get any sleep. And these people did an assessment of me. They talked through things with me. They were like, listen, there's 3 options that I was given. One was that I was kept on a psych ward in the hospital. The other one was that I went home, but a member of the home treatment team, which is essentially like you're discharged under them. You're technically still registered as a person in the hospital, but under their team, so you can be in a different location, aka your own home. And it was that every day a member of the home treatment team would come to the house and like check on me, talk to me, do assessments with me. Or I could go home and I had to go to meet the home treatment team at the mental health clinic where they were based, which is the option that I decided to go for. Because essentially I at the time when I took myself there absolutely fucking needed to, but by the time they arrived I'd had like eight cups of tea, a couple of biscuits, a few sandwiches, and I was like, sorry for wasting your time, I'm fine to just go home, it's fine. Because for so many years I'd had doctors be like, oh no, you seem fine. So I even was writing off my own thing despite having literally just taken myself to the hospital. And they had to like insist to me, no, we're gonna fucking help you. Which was lovely and nice and a first. So I'm now going to take the Beauty Bay Cinnamon Bronzer and the Spectrum A05 brush, which was a collaboration with Mean Girls, and the brush is called You're Like Really Pretty. So you agree? You think you're pretty? I can only apologise for that accent. I didn't feel like I deserved a space on the psych ward, quite honestly. I wasn't comfortable with them coming to my house and the possibility of my family overhearing things, which is why I went for the option where I could sleep in my own bed, but I could still go see them and get the support every day. So I ended up being released under the home treatment team, and every day for I think at least 2 weeks I would go to this mental health clinic, have appointments, do assessments, discuss different things, and they ended up starting me on a medicine called duloxetine, which is actually the one that I'm still on to this day, although I'm now on a much higher dose. And this time I wasn't discharged because I wasn't going back to uni or anything, and they were like, yeah, no, you need help. You need some fucking help. And I was like, oh, I really appreciate it, honestly, thank you guys. Then for blush, we are going to take the Juvia's Place Bella blush, and we are going to take the number 7 blusher brush, and it's like just a lovely deep coral almost. As mentioned in my previous video, I do like a lot of blush. I think I'm going to tone it down a bit for this look, but it's still going to be probably more than most people would put on. So unlike previously where I had just been discharged, I was having regular appointments with psychiatrists. When the home treatment team released me to this mental health team and I was no longer under any form of like hospital treatment, the letter that they sent about it, for one, wild read getting a copy of that letter and being like, oh wow, this, when you word it like this, it sounds very bad. They mentioned that I showed traits of emotionally unstable personality disorder or borderline personality disorder. It's the same thing, it's just a different name for it, but they didn't say that that was a confirmed diagnosis. And it actually wasn't until probably around like November of 2018 that my psychiatrist did confirm, oh no, you have been diagnosed with this, we just didn't want to sort of dump it on you and surprise you and set you off. Which I can sort of understand to a degree, but at the same time, for me, the sort of not knowing what it was and not being sure, can I tell people it's this, am I lying if I say it's this, was actually worse, which is why I did end up like pressing my psychiatrist for an answer about it. Fun fact, my current job that I had my job interview a week to the day after my hospitalisation. I was still, it was like the one day that I didn't see the home treatment team because they were like, okay, you've got a job interview that you can't rearrange, so we'll allow you to like attend that, but you have to have like a phone call thing with us later. And like I was on these new meds that were making me have terrible side effects. I was still extremely, you know, not wanting to be here in many ways. And somehow I got the job. I genuinely think it was just because I was like completely honest. I wasn't like, yeah, I have this knowledge and this, I was just like, I don't have any knowledge. I am very dedicated and willing to learn. And they apparently liked me. So for highlighter today, I'm actually going to try out a palette that I haven't used before. It is the Drama Queen Unboring Highlighter Palette by Kimchi Chic Beauty. And here we just have, like, you can see the shine from that thing, but just a beautiful myriad of shades. I must admit, these two, I want to do a look soon where I can use them. And I will be using the Morphe Y14 brush. I don't really buy brushes from Morphe anymore, but I must admit this is one of my favourite highlighting brush, if not my favourite. This is, if I'm ever trying out a new highlighter, this is the first brush that I will always try on it. And what I'm probably going to do is take a little bit of Spread Like Butter and mix it with Cinnamon Glaze. See if I can make a nice, for me, skin tone-ish type shade. Let's see how this goes. That is nice. That is, it's a very sort of quite a soft highlighter compared to the one that I was wearing, I think, in my last video, which was Doll Beauty, which is a very blinding highlight, but it is very nice. Ooh, baby! Ow! Ignore how bad my contour is from the side. From the front it looks okay. But just look at that shine! Look at that shine! Yeah, I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, which was the reason that I then have severe depression and anxiety. Unlike depression and anxiety, which, you know, can come and go, borderline personality disorder is a lifelong thing. It's not something that one day through treatment it's gone. You can recover from it and you can like improve from it, but it will always be there and it's always something you're going to live with. A bit like bipolar and schizophrenia, it's something that you can't just get rid of. It's going to be there forever, but through like medication and therapy and lots of time and hard work, you can minimize the symptoms of, essentially. When also trying to ask how to like explain it to people, what it meant, I mean, the name emotionally unstable personality disorder sort of gives it away, although apparently more doctors refer to it as borderline personality disorder now because of the negative connotations that come with calling someone emotionally unstable. But the simplest description that my psychiatrist has ever given me is it's like bipolar but faster. So while someone who is bipolar may have manic and depressive episodes that usually span a few days or maybe a week or two, with someone with BPD, it can be minutes. You can go from manic to depressive 20 plus times in a whole day. Your mood is very unstable, anything can sort of flip it, and there isn't a necessity that you will be in one state of mood for a long period of time. I don't think I've ever counted the flips that I've had in a day, but I can definitely remember days where at least 10 or 11 times I felt completely wildly different emotions, both largely on like scales of severely depressed to manic. Can never forget the Cupid's bow. Never. Make it look like you just eaten all the donuts. Oh yeah, baby. I don't know why, but I love it. I love it. So then, using a Doll Beauty DB15 brush, I'm going to put a little bit on my brow bone and my inner corner. And then, because I am obsessed with them, I am going to be adding some fake freckles with my Lottie London Freckle Tint that I really need to clean the outside of. Don't look at it too much. I actually do have a beauty mark / mole, depending upon whether you want to insult me or not, there, and I do quite like, because it often gets covered by foundation, I do like re-adding it almost with the freckle tint. In the words of Jenna Marbles, I want to be a freckled snack. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to stop, or else I'll never stop. And then I personally like to do setting spray before I do lashes or lips, so I'm going to be using the Nimya Set It and Forget It setting spray, mainly because I'm still really obsessed with the smell of this. Like I mentioned in my last video, oh my fucking god, it smells divine. I have been really liking the fan, I've got to say it. I know I was like, oh, I wouldn't pay for the fan, and I think still knowing that the fan was 15 euros-ish, I think, I probably wouldn't have just bought the fan alone, but I'm very happy it was in the bundle. I do really like it. So before this turned into quite a pink shimmer, and I was expecting it to be more like golden green, I was planning to put like a bright green in my waterline, but I think now I'm probably going to go for like a black instead. So I applied some of the Beauty Bay Crayon eyeliner in the shade Ink in my waterline and tightline. I put a little bit more of the green that's in my crease under there and used the Milk Makeup Kush Mascara. And now I'm going to off camera again, apply the Doll Beauty Chloe Elizabeth lashes. The lashes are on and that took me longer than I care to admit to get done. Yeah, so I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, also known as emotionally unstable personality disorder. I was put onto duloxetine, which I'm still currently on. I have also been through 2 different courses of therapies. I'm currently awaiting a 3rd course. And essentially, if there's meant to be a moral of the story, the moral of the story is as desolate and hopeless as it felt at various points throughout everything. I'm still here. I'm doing okay. I'm not gonna sit here and say, yeah, I'm great, everything's fucking perfect, bruh. But I'm gonna say it does get better. As dark and horrible as so many of the times seem, there is light and hope in there. Especially when you have wonderful friends and or family. So now for lips, there's one of 2 options that I'm thinking of right now. I could go for like a really dark deep green, or I could go for like a dark nude brown. So I had initially expected the eyes to be a lot more green and I was leaning towards the brown, but now that they're actually not as green, I'm not sure. I'll have a look around at my things and see what I pick out. That's what we'll do. So I've decided that I'm going to go for a brownie nude lip. So I'm going to take the Jeffree Star Cosmetics Velour lip liner in Dominatrix, which is my go-to like dark brown lip liner. I really love the colour. And then on top of that, we are going to be putting the Uoma Beauty, I believe it's called the Badass lip in Tracy. And here is where I struggle to even out my lip there, make it just a little bit more rounded without ending up doing a stupidly huge overline. Not that I mind a good overline, you know, ooh. But try to reel myself in a bit. The lower lip is done, but the lower lip is not the hard bit, it's the upper lip that's the hard bit. Okay, there we go, that will do. This is the thing that comes to a lot of my makeup. Essentially it gets to the point where I'm like, do you know what, that'll do. I had hoped that this would be a different colour, but that'll do. So yeah, this is the finished look that I have ended up with. I hope it's okay. I know this was a bit of a weird video, just me doing some makeup and not really explaining it, but also talking in depth about mental health crises I've essentially had. I don't know, I feel it's important to discuss these things and to sort of make it known that it's not like this taboo thing to talk about mental health, that we should all be talking about it and supporting each other with it. But also just, you know, I keep on being like, I was gone for 7 years. Like, I wanted to explain why. It's my channel, I can do what I want with it. But thank you so much for watching if you've made it this. As stated earlier, I know that this was quite a very mental health heavy sort of video, so please look after yourself after this. Please practice some self-care, make sure that you've eaten and drunk, take your meds, please talk to someone. I'm always here if you need me, or if you are really not doing well, please speak to a medical professional. But also outside of just how this video has made you feel, please know that I value you. To me, you are important. Your mental health is important. Putting it first is always going to be important. I hope you're okay, and if you're not, I highly encourage you to reach out to someone, whether it be a friend, whether it be a medical professional. I know that it is the hardest thing to do. Trust me, this is coming from someone who's essentially been rejected by like 3 different types of doctors and stuff. Like, it's so much easier said than done, but you are worth it. You are worth the care and love and support. Yeah. I can't cry because I just done all this makeup. Oh my god. But yeah, I hope this was somewhat enjoyable, entertaining. Not quite sure which of them applies, but you know, As ever, I will be posting a closer look at the makeup and full details on my Instagram. I will also list the products in the little description down below. But yeah, just know that to me, you are loved, you are valued, and you are worth the care and support. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your morning, evening, afternoon, day, whatever time it may be for you. And I hope you have a wonderful period of time until I next see you.